And I guess I should start by declaring an interest in that not simply do I have a deep antipathy towards President Trump, but I was prepared to do more than just talk about it. And I spent a considerable amount of time last year working for Hillary Clinton on her presidential election in New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and South Carolina, because I believe, as President Obama did throughout the 2016 campaign, when he said that she was the most qualified candidate to run for president in the 20th century. And it deeply grieves me as every day goes by, not least the last 7 days, to see, sadly, what opportunity America passed up for the person that they chose. But we are where we are, because of course she did get 2.8 million more votes, but the Americans do not elect their president through who gets the most votes, but through the Electoral College. Those are the rules, so there is no point in crying over spilt milk. I won't rehearse all the reasons why any reasonable person should have significant doubts about Donald Trump, because they are sadly far too well known.
Yes.
But what I do believe is that America is our greatest ally. It has been for a considerable amount of time. It has stood by us shoulder to shoulder in our hour of need, as we did in their hour of need, particularly during 9/11. And so it is, to my mind, foolish to allow our personal views and assessments of an individual and some of their more grotesque characteristics or behaviour to blur what is in Britain's national interest.
Well said, Simon.
And what I believe is Britain's national interest is to continue that special relationship, as we have done under most prime ministers since the Second World War, with probably the exception of Sir Edward Heath, to ensure, yes I will.
I'm very grateful to Il for giving way, and I know his deep affection for the United States. Indeed, I've been with him at democratic conventions in the past. But is the natural conclusion of his argument that almost the more offensive the American president, the more concerned we are as a nation about who gets elected, the quicker we should rush to give them a state visit? Because isn't the debate really about the nature with which Donald Trump should come to this country?
Simon Burns.
I mean, if the right honourable gentleman will bear with me, I will get on to the timings, because he raises a valid point. But what I was saying was that regardless of what we may think or not think of Donald Trump as a man, I believe it is in our national interest to ensure that we can continue to be a candid friend to the United States, a candid friend who is respected by the United States and has the ability to be able to talk to them candidly, to explain to them when we believe they may be getting it wrong, or where they could be doing it better, or where we can ensure that they can moderate their views to something more in keeping with what we believe is dignified, the correct way to behave. We cannot do that if we just totally ignore the United States, write off the presidency, and say the man is dreadful, so we will have nothing to do with it. We would become isolated, we would become less influential, and it would not be in our national interest. A number of honourable members during the course of this debate and outside this chamber have questioned the timing. Quite frankly, I don't think it really matters when one issues an invitation if one is trying to protect, develop our national interest. Whether it's 7 days into a presidency, you'll be criticised. If you do it in 2020, you'll be criticised for playing around with the American electoral system and trying to help the man in his presumed re-election bid. So, for last time.
Well, delaying the invitation for a state visit would at least have the advantage of knowing the President would still be there.
Sir Simon Burns.
The right honourable gentleman may be better at looking into a crystal ball than I. None of us, frankly, can predict what's going to happen next week, let alone next year, the year after, or the year after. The right honourable gentleman might be right. I mean, I would agree with him. I don't think the beginning has been auspicious in any shape or form. And one always, it's a bit like the Bible, one always always admires a sinner who repents. And we will have to see whether the people around President Trump are able to moderate him, to guide him. I'm not convinced that they will be as successful as some others think. But that is not the point. The point is that whenever the invitation was extended for whenever it takes place, there would be criticism for those who wish to criticise. And I think we've got to rise above that. What we have got to do is look at what is going to be most helpful for Britain, for its future policy and development, and I think it is a no-brainer that working closely with the United States is far more important for this country, particularly as we begin negotiations and the exit from the EU in 2.5 years' time. We cannot afford to be isolated and to ignore our friends and just stand there alone thinking that we are going to ensure that everything works out all right. Because more often than not, it won't. Loyalty has always been a key mark of this country, whether it be under a Conservative Prime Minister, or a Labour Prime Minister. I mean, some people would argue that in the past, at times, we've been too loyal. I won't intrude on grief with regard to 2001 to about 2006, but that was a difficult time. And maybe we got it wrong in the way in which we talked as a candid friend to the previous but one president. But we all learn from mistakes, and I believe that we have the opportunity, by giving respect to the institution of the Presidency of the United States from the start, and continuing to work with the United States, that it will pay benefits for this country, for America, and that it is the right thing to do, and that the state visit should go ahead. Though I have to say, and it may come as a surprise to some, I do agree with the Speaker that there shouldn't be an address down in Westminster Hall for a joint session of Parliament.
Naz Shah.
A subject we've debated many times since Donald Trump was inaugurated a month ago today. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank every single one of my constituents who has used this petition to have their voice heard. Just over 3,500 constituents of Bradford West have signed the petition to prevent Donald Trump's state visit. That's nearly 60 people in every 1,000 registered voters. In the last 31 days, what we have seen has in many ways been chilling. The executive orders that have dominated Donald Trump's first weeks in the White House have been frightening. And the question many of us are asking, where does this slippery slope really lead? If we take only one of the groups of people he has sought to divide, those of a Muslim faith, not necessarily distinct to one country or another, his rhetoric has been so broad that even I, personally, as a Muslim, feel attacked and misrepresented. And no doubt many of my constituents who make wonderful contributions to this country on a daily basis feel the same way. We have to take every opportunity to show that his negativity and divisive messages are not going to divide us, and just as importantly, we cannot let them define us. British Muslims make an invaluable contribution to the UK as a whole, in all forms and walks of life, from doctors to teachers, from business owners to professionals, and add an immense cultural value to the rich fabric of modern British life. To allow Trump the space to divide a group that plays such a huge role would be a shame upon us all. A report in 2013 by the Muslim Council of Britain tried to put an economic value on the impact of British Muslims make to the UK. The report showed that British Muslims make an estimated £31 billion plus contribution to our economy, and that as a group, have over £20.5 billion in spending power. That, just as 2013, just in London alone, of nearly 13,500 Muslim-owned businesses create over 70,000 jobs. This shows a glimpse of the real impact Muslims have in this country. This is how Muslims should be portrayed, not the fearful, racist, bigoted views of someone who has used fear to win votes. Last year, I have to give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does she agree with me that it is deeply saddening and shameful that colleagues who are defending this visit are not recognising the serious concern people have, particularly Muslims, but many other communities, about the dangers of the rhetoric of Donald Trump? And it's time they spoke out against that kind of hostility. It's deeply divisive, and it's time they address this issue instead of making excuses and being apologists for his hatred.
I thank my honourable friend